Hello grade 8 students, welcome! From Hermosa National High School, I'm Glenny M. or Precio, a math teacher, teacher 2. For today's lesson, Mathematics, Quarter 3, Module 2, Triangle Congruence. For today's objective, illustrate triangle congruence. Let's have a pretest. Multiple choice. Read each item carefully to answer the following questions. Select the letter that corresponds to your answer. For number 1, what is CPCTC stands for? Letter A, corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Letter B, congruent parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Letter C, corresponding parts of corresponding triangles are congruent. And letter D, congruent parts of corresponding triangles are congruent. So, what do you think is CPCTC stands for? So, the answer is letter A. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Number 2, if triangle ELF is congruent to triangle MCD, which segment is congruent to side EL? Is it A, side LF, B, side EF, C, side MC, or D, side CL? So the answer is letter MC, and that is letter C. Number 3, if triangle ANT is congruent to triangle PRO, which angle is congruent to angle T? Is it A, angle A, B, angle P, C, angle R, or D, angle O? So, angle T is congruent to angle O, and that is letter D. Number 4, two triangles are congruent if their blank parts are congruent. Letter A, congruent. Letter B, corresponding. Letter C, side. Letter D, angles. So the answer is for number 4, letter B, corresponding. Number 5, if triangle BAD is congruent to triangle KEY, then triangle YEK is congruent to letter A, triangle EYK, letter B, triangle DAB, letter C, triangle ADB, or letter D, triangle KYE. So the answer is triangle YEK is congruent to triangle DAB, and that is letter B. Okay, next. Let's have a test. The moving on test. Are you familiar with this game? Or picks in one word. So we have 8 letters. So what do you think is the word? Okay, yes. Triangle. Next, for this given 2 pictures each, we're going to find out the similarity of the 2 or the equal. If there is an equal part, have you seen in this picture? So, for first picture, what do you think? Is there a same or the same parts for these 2 pictures? The nose, mustache, the lips, next, the style of the hair, almost the same. The eyes. Next. How about this one? The color of the noodles is almost the same for the man's hair. The color of the man's hair or a boy's hair. Next. The eyes. Nose. The next one. The color of the hair of a girl is same as the color of the pet. The lips, same as color yellow. Next, the hair, almost the same. The style of the hair. How about this one? Forehead. The eyes. And this one, they wear the same eyeglasses. There is the same color yellow. Okay. So based on the given pictures, we find out the equalities, the similarities. So at this point, congruent versus equal. Congruent in symbol and for equal, to recall, in your previous module, you learned about axiomatic structure of a mathematical system in general and also in geometry in particular, like defined terms, undefined terms, postulates, and theorems. In this module, we will deepen your understanding about geometry, specifically in triangle congruence. In order to understand some of the ways to prove that triangles are congruent, let us first identify the meaning of the word included. This may pertain to angles and sides that are basically found in between angles or sides of the given triangle. So, what do you mean by included angle? So, it is an angle between two sides of a triangle. So, let us have an example of triangle. Triangle PJB. So, angle P is the included angle of side JP and side BP. Angle B is the included angle of side PB and side JB. Angle J is the included angle of side PJ and side BJ. So, as you can see on the given figure, so we can find out the included angle. How about the included side? An included side is the side common to two angles of a triangle. Example of a triangle, triangle XRM. And the figure, so as you can see the figure, side RX is the included side of angle R and angle X. Side RM is the included side of angle R and angle M. Another one, side XM is the included side of angle X and angle M. Hope you understand and clear between the included angle and the included side, the difference of the two. Let's try to do activity 1. Given triangle PRX, answer the following questions. You can draw, if you want, the triangle in your own triangle PRX so that you can have an idea or the figure to determine and to answer the following questions. Number 1, what is the included angle of side PR and side XR? The answer is side or angle R. For number 2, what is the included angle of side RX and side PX? So, the answer is angle X. For number 3, what is the included angle of side XP and side RP? So, in between side XP and side RP. The included angle is angle P. Number 4, what is the included side of side or the included side of angle P and angle R? So, side PR. For number 5, what is the included side of angle R and angle X? The answer is side RX. And for number 6, what is the included side of angle X and angle P? So, side XP. Okay, next. We have learned that a figure is congruent if it is the same size and shape as another figure with which the figure is being compared. For segment or same as side, we learned that two segments are congruent if they both have the same length. For angles, we have learned that two angles are congruent if they both have the same measure. So there is a question here. What is the basis used to determine congruence in triangles? Triangles have 6 parts by which we determine whether two triangles are congruent. The 3 sides of the triangles and the 3 angles of the triangle. Two triangles are congruent if the corresponding parts are equal. The corresponding parts of two triangles are the parts which match or the parts which hold the same relative or corresponding positions with respect to the other parts of the triangles. The sides and angles that match is called corresponding sides and corresponding angles. Look at triangle XYM and triangle FIT. So we have two given figures of triangles. For both triangles, side XY and side FI are the shortest sides. Side YM and side IT are the medium sides as far as length is concerned. And side XM and side FT are the longest sides. Here, side XY correspond to side FI. Side YM correspond to side IT. And side XM corresponds to side FT. Similarly, the vertices of the triangles also correspond. Vertex X corresponds to vertex F. Vertex Y corresponds to vertex I. And vertex M corresponds to vertex T. So if we overlap the two triangles, the given two triangles, So, if we place triangle FIT over triangle XYM, we will see that triangle FIT fits exactly over triangle XYM. These triangles are congruent since the corresponding sides are equal and the corresponding angles are equal. In summary, the lists of corresponding angles and segments are: for corresponding angles, angle X and angle F. So they are corresponding to each other. Another one, angle Y and angle I. As you can see based on the given figure. And the last one, angle M and angle T. So we have three corresponding angles. Another three corresponding parts, and that is the sides. The first one, side XY and side FI. Another one, side YM corresponds to side IT. And the last corresponding side, side XM and side FT. We can say, based on the given 6 corresponding parts of a triangle, we can say that triangle XYM is congruent to triangle FIT. Also, triangle YMX is congruent to triangle ITF. Another congruent triangles, triangle MXY is congruent to triangle TFI. And the last one, triangle YXM is congruent to triangle IFT. Note here that the triangles are named in the order of their corresponding parts. The order of the corresponding parts for the two triangles has to be the same. Two triangles are congruent if their vertices can be paired so that corresponding sides are congruent and corresponding angles are congruent. So let's have an example. So we have two figures of triangle ABC and DEF. We're now going to find out if they are congruent by listing the 6 corresponding parts. So let's start with the vertex C. Vertex C corresponds to vertex F. Vertex B corresponds to vertex E. Vertex A corresponds to vertex D. How about the sides? Side CB is congruent to side FE. Side BA is congruent to side ED. Side CA is congruent to side FD. How about the angles? Angle C congruent to angle F. Angle B is congruent to angle E. Angle A is congruent to angle D. So therefore, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. So we can use identical marking or the identical mark to identify the corresponding congruent parts. Next, using the two figures of triangle, can you name the 6 pairs of congruent corresponding parts? To start, side AB is congruent to side DE. So what do you think the next congruent side? Another 2 congruent sides and 3 congruent angles. The next one, side BC is congruent to side EF. Last congruent side AC is congruent to side DF. How about the angles? Angle A congruent to angle D. Can you see based on the given figure, using the identical mark? Angle B is congruent to angle E. And the last one is, angle C is congruent to angle F. Okay, next. It's your turn. Name the 6 pairs of congruent corresponding parts of the given congruent triangles. So we have triangle WXZ is congruent to triangle YXZ. We're going to prove if they are congruent by listing the 6 corresponding parts of a triangle. Let me give you the first congruent part, side WZ congruent to side YZ. So what is the next side? Okay, side WX congruent to side YX. As you can see, there is a common side, and that is side XZ. So, side XZ is congruent to side XZ. Angle W is congruent to angle Y. Another angle. Angle WZX congruent to angle YZX. Using 3 letters with the same angle. Because there is a common side. Next, and the last one, the angle WXZ is congruent to triangle, or no, I mean angle YXZ. Next. So what do you think is he thinking about the triangle congruence? The bridge, we need to have a congruent triangle to make the bridge stable, and the house. Now I know. Next, one more. Which triangles are congruent if side MA is congruent to side KF? Side AX is congruent to side FC. Side MX is congruent to side KC. Angle M is congruent to angle K. Angle A is congruent to angle F. Angle X is congruent to angle C. You can draw the triangles in your own so that you can have an idea of what triangles are congruent based on the given corresponding parts. So to draw, okay, so we have triangle, then therefore based on the given figure or on the figure you drawn, triangle max or MAX is congruent to triangle KFC. Okay. So, based on what you have learned, on what we discussed, let us now summarize. So, again, what do you mean by included angle? So, it is an angle between two sides of a triangle. Next, the included side. So, included side is the side common to two angles of a triangle. So, to prove that the given two triangles are congruent, how many corresponding parts do we need to find out or to list the congruent parts? How many congruent corresponding parts? So we have 6 pairs of corresponding parts of congruent. And what do you mean by CPCTC? So it is the corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Okay? Next, let's have a short quiz. Triangle YOU and triangle MAN are congruent. Identify the corresponding parts. So there is a given 2 figures of triangles YOU and triangle MAN. Okay? So what is the answer? For the 3 corresponding sides, so the first one, side YO is congruent to side MA. Side YU is congruent to side MN. Side OU is congruent to side AN. How about the corresponding angles? So, angle Y congruent to angle M. Angle O congruent to angle A. And angle U congruent to angle N. Okay, so to those who got perfect score, very good. Okay, so for your assignment, number 1, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle EDC. List down the 6 pairs of each congruent corresponding parts. And for number 2, what triangles are congruent if side LA is congruent to side GO, side AB is congruent to side OD, side LB is congruent to side GD. Angle A is congruent to angle G, angle A is congruent to angle O, angle B is congruent to angle D. You can draw the triangles in the box below. Okay? So what is 5Q plus 5Q? Thank you. So that's all for today. God bless.